Hi, everyone, and welcome back to CircuitCast with AI Connects. Today, I'm on here with an amazing guest. Our guest is Gary Farstad. He has hospitality in his DNA. Gary started his career at just the age of 14 with Niagara Parks Commission and has since spent more than 15 years mastering hotel leadership at the international level. He's lived and worked across 4 Canadian provinces, plus multi-year roles in both the Cayman Islands and Curacao, building a truly global perspective on service and operations. Today, as we speak to him, Gary is the general manager at the Delta Guelph by Marriott. This is a full service conference property known for financial performance and operational excellence. Gary's leadership has been tested under real pressure, including when he opened the Dakota Dunes Resort in partnership with the Whitecap Dakota First Nation in October 2020. That's right in the middle of the pandemic. And against all odds, he kept the operation profitable. His teams have earned national recognition, including the ITAC Business Innovation Award and the HAC Revenue Performance Team of the Year. He joins us to talk about culture, transformation, and the future of full service hospitality. Gary, welcome and thanks for joining us today.
Thanks. Good afternoon, John.
Gary, that as I was reading and thinking about the introduction, there's lots to dig into there, but I think I want to start with this, Niagara Parks 14-year-old story and sort of how that lead us through how you got from there to this amazing role of general manager where you are now.
So that comes from my father and work ethics. He instilled in both me and my brother a very strong work ethic and wanted us to get experience working right away. I chose hospitality and the rest is history.
So you chose hospitality, you did it at the parks. Is this all, you have hospitality steeped in your bones and you just worked hard through the industry? Did you go to school? What else did you do?
Yeah, so being from Niagara Falls, hospitality is all around you. And it's one of the ways that you can see your way sort of to get out of Niagara Falls too, and to be able to go do something. And so I went to Georgian College for resort management. And from there, I went out to the Rockies. And then from the Rockies, I went to the Cayman Islands. And every time I moved to a different place, I advanced a position up until all the way up to general manager.
So, and you're general manager at the Delta Guelph. And how long have you been there, Gary?
So I came back to Canada in May. And then at the end of May, I was hired by Hotel Equities to transition this property.
So come back where from Curacao was the last posting before?
From Curacao, correct? Yes.
I don't know. I might have chosen to stay in Curacao.
Yeah, unfortunately, my dad, he was terminal. And that was a big reason of me coming home.
Of personal reasons, yeah. So tell us a little bit about what it's like, maybe compare and contrast a little bit operating a resort in a place like the Caymans or Curacao as compared to, a property like the one you have today.
So the major difference is, I would say, the staff and the experience of the staff. So I would say the Caribbean's very similar to like Dakota Dunes, where we were training staff for the first. It was with most of them. It was their first time working at a resort, and so we were in Dakota Dunes. We were training everybody how to work at resorts. A lot of them, it was their first job opportunity. So it was our goal to get 70% Indigenous employees. And we actually attained that. So working on the island is the same. You want to build the locals and you want the locals to advance too. So their development was my success.
That's interesting. So you can tell us a little bit about that, right? Just even gathering the people and what that
Yep.
training looks like, what the important aspects of that training are.
So for Dakota Dunes in particular, there was help from the government. So there was the provincial government did, I think it was 30 days of training with them to get them ready for the resort. And then from there, they were sort of on the job training. So I hired the best management team I could find. So all the managers were experienced. So myself, the front office manager, housekeeping manager. And so we use our experience to teach everybody.
And what would you say about hospitality and resorts in particular? What's the hardest thing to teach?
The hardest thing to teach is just the natural hospitality sort of gene, the want to serve people, to take care of people, treat them like they're coming to your house, right? So sometimes you can't teach that to some people. Hospitality is not for everyone. But there's different positions in the hotel that you can make it work too. So let's say somebody wasn't the best at front office, as an example, but maybe we moved them to accounting where there wasn't any need for guest interaction, and maybe they succeeded in accounting.
Right.
So it's
Right.
knowing where to put your people and where to put your resources.
Right. I mean, you've really got to, because you're building from the ground up. You've got to have
Yep.
everybody, right?
Yeah.
Interesting. Now, that's not what you experienced when you came to the Delta Guelph. It's an established property, maybe slightly different journey there. Can you tell us a little
Yeah,
bit
so
about
it's
that?
a totally different, I would say, different vibe here. It's a business hotel. It's a very successful business hotel. It's right across from the University of Guelph. And so it's very heavy on conference business. And, the tenure of the team here, the director of operations, she came through Marriott. I think it's her 15th year with Marriott. So it's a lot
Now,
different working with people that are career Marriott people.
I was going to say, is this you're at the Marriott? Are these other properties that you had before, were they Marriott properties as well, or did you move into the Marriott family as part of this transition?
No, the first Marriott was actually in Sudbury. A Town Place Suites was back in 2017. It was my first Marriott property up there, and that was an extended stay property. And from there, I gathered all the training, and I actually used the Marriott training on Dakota Dunes. You can transverse. It doesn't necessarily have to be Marriott to be able to use those skill set that you learn from Marriott.
Interesting. So Gary, as the general manager of a property like the one you're in today, can you tell us a little bit about, what makes up your day to day? You get up in the morning, you put those shoes on, and then what
Yep.
happens?
So the first thing is the reports. So we have a net audit report. So there's about like 16 to 17 reports that we review. So yeah, I'm looking over the cancellations. I'm looking over the upcoming reservations. I'm looking over the elites. Who do we have coming to the house? And then the second part is kind of new. It's a system that Hotel Equities launched recently. It's called Hotel Effectiveness. And so it's a program that monitors labor. So there I go in and I see how we did the day before. I see how the schedules are, how all the labor is set up, what the team looks like today to get a handle of it. And then after that, I have my 9:30 meeting with the team. So we have a manager lineup. We meet with the team. We discuss what's going on for the day. We go over all our different items. And then from there, it depends. Any day could be different. But
Yeah,
my
then it's
basic
just
morning routine is the same.
basically whatever happens at 9:30 determines what the rest of the day looks like, right?
So on Friday, as an example, we had the Marriott auditor show up at 9:30. So then I had the Marriott audit, it was great because we did well. So we increased 2.5% from our previous audit, which we just had in November. So they do one annually, and it's about 87 pages of items that they check at your hotel.
I think it would be interesting, and I don't know how much of it you can reveal, but I think it would
Yeah.
be interesting for people to hear a little bit about, with a brand like Marriott, what it takes for them to maintain that brand perspective at the properties, and how, you said 87 pages. Can you maybe give us a couple of ideas, the sorts of things they're looking at?
Yeah, so I like to compare it to Airbnbs as an example, right? So at Marriott properties, you know that the room has been cleaned properly. You know the room's been inspected. You know that what we check for is the age of the pillows. We actually check to see if the pillow bounces or not. So the maintenance is done on the room. So there's many different things that we check at a Marriott property where I feel safe staying at a Marriott property anywhere in the world. Versus like a non-Marriott property, non-branded property where they don't have any policies or procedures or checks or balances. You really don't know when the last time something was done.
Yeah, I guess that's a good point, right? I mean, it's
Yeah.
it's part of what the brand is all about, right?
It's the trust, right? So you have the trust from the brand. The brand's checking, they're keeping the hotel honest. The hotel has to pass the audit in order to keep the name. If the hotel fails the audit, there's a potential for losing the Marriott name. And when losing the Marriott name, you lose the revenue.
So tell us a little bit about maybe the structure. In this particular case, you talked about another
Yep.
company, and then there's the
Yep.
brand. A lot of people don't
Yep.
necessarily know how this whole system works.
Yeah. So Marriott, many years ago, Marriott, Hilton, Holiday Inn, IHG, whatever company it was, they used to always own all their hotels. So when before in 1970, 1980, even into 1990, you saw a Marriott hotel, chances were Marriott owned that hotel. You saw a Hilton hotel, chances are the Hilton owned that hotel. Over the last, say, 15 to 25 years, all the companies have moved out of real estate and they've moved into hotel management agreements or franchise agreements. And so allowed Marriott to become so global so quickly, let them grow rapidly.
So you've got a brand that their name is on the door. They
Yep.
have this extensive checklist that makes sure you're living up to the standards of
Yep.
expectation of that brand and the quality that's behind the brand, right?
Of course.
And then beneath that, you've got an ownership company, right?
Yeah, so usually before that, so especially with a full service hotel, you usually have for franchise, you have the brand, and then you'll have like a hotel management company. So there's several large hotel management companies in Canada. I worked for one for 10 years, and now I'm with Hotel Equities, which is it's one of the larger ones in Canada. So usually it goes brand, management company, and then owners. And so each management company has their own standards and policies and procedures that you need to follow as well. So I'm sort of on like a ladder, I guess, in between the brand and the owners and the management company, trying to make everything balance.
Not for the faint of heart. Okay, so you're at this property. You've been there since May. Can you tell us? You mentioned a little bit of the progress you made with the audit, for
Yep.
example. What
Yep.
what else has changed? What are your sort of goals with the property?
So a lot of my goals are based on efficiencies. And so how do we make something more efficient? What processes do we need? What processes don't we need? How we can do it better? So we're always looking for ways to do things better. And so I would say like one of the things I'm talking about at our international conference in Las Vegas in a couple of weeks is the program Hotel Effectiveness, which I've helped launch with Hotel Equities across Canada with the other general managers. And so that's a module. So it's really unique where you have a labor module, and then you have a financial module, and then you have a labor scheduling module, and all three modules tied together, and it gives you a way better perspective of managing the day-to-day hotels. No more Excel sheets, no more guessing. Everything, it flows through. So it's almost like the revolution of when we went from a metal key to a key card. That's where technology is taking the business.
And okay, so this is back office. This is really business management imprinted on the hotel day to day, right?
Yep. Yep.
Where else do you see technology playing in the business that's changing the way you guys do business?
So one of the ways that I can say that I'll say companies like Marriott are going to start looking at making it the same way you book a hotel or an airplane seat. So you know how you can go on the website and you can pick which seat you want to sit on an airplane? Hotels are going to move to where you can pick exactly which room you want in the hotel. Of course, you're going to pay a little bit more, and then there's going to be a lot of more upgrade options. So I see it headed that way. I can't speak on Marriott. I just say the hotel chains in general are going to head
Yeah.
that way, more of like an airplane model.
And are you on an electronic key at your property, or are you on a key card still?
So we're on the key cards, but you also have mobile keys. So a lot of people, the transition from key cards to mobile keys, people using your cell phones, the adoption rate isn't the highest. A lot of people
That's what I
still
wanted
just
to
like
get to.
the
Yeah.
a lot of people still just like to have the plastic card. Even myself, I find myself, I can use the cell phone, but the problem with the cell phone is, and it's not just a Marriott problem, is that the technology is there, but sometimes it takes like 3 or 4 or 5 times to be able to get the door unlocked with your cell phone. Where with the key card, it's one and done.
Yeah, it kind of sometimes leaves you wondering if it's actually going to work, or you're going to get stuck in the hallway, or the elevator. Actually, I always find with the mobile, when you get in the elevator, it doesn't work, and then you're stuck, right?
Yeah. So I would say in the next 5 years, it'll be fine tuned and everything will be working perfectly. And you essentially won't even have to check in at the front desk if you don't want to. In theory, now you can do that, but a lot of hotels still ask you to stop by and show your credit card and ID.
Now, isn't that still a requirement in some places, like that the country
Yeah, it
requires you
depends.
to do
It
that?
depends on like the local laws. Like, so it depends on the country and it depends on the laws of the country.
Yeah, so it's not 100% at the discretion of the hotel anyway, because you might be
Yeah.
obligated to check that information, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I think
So
it's
like one change to legislation as an example is license plates of vehicles at Ontario hotels. So hotels in Saskatchewan don't have that legislation yet, but hotels in Ontario, we had to have the license plates.
oh, that's interesting.
So province to province, I've seen all kinds of different rules and regulations, especially with liquor boards.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting. A lot of times, the guests don't realize that that's why that particular property is behaving that way, right? And it's not necessarily their choice. So we talked about the brand and we talked about the management company. We didn't actually talk about the government, right?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. So when you think about running a hotel, let's pick on Ontario for now. When you think
Yep.
about running a hotel in Ontario, what do you see are, the most challenging obstacles to the day to day of operating a hotel?
So I'll go back to when I was in Sudbury. So when the government first introduced the MAT, So the mandatory the cities could adapt the accommodation taxes. So our biggest fear as hoteliers were, the collection of that and not spending it on actual tourism purposes.
Right.
So the hotels ourselves, we formed a board, a nonprofit, and we were able to get that funding. So you have to advocate for your own business and you have to be involved in the various groups.
Right. So this is a tax that the municipalities are causing you to collect, and under the
Yeah.
auspices that it was going to go back to tourism promotion. And in order to make sure that it actually did, you guys formed your own group and then got control of the funding. Is that how that worked?
Yeah, correct. And then so we did that in Sudbury. And then here in Guelph, it's a little bit different. It goes through the Chamber of Commerce, but it all depends on each municipality. So I think they
Mm.
rushed out the tax without having like, how is this actually going to work in reality, right? So it's great to put out the tax, but there should have been more thought put on the rules and regulations of how it's collected, who's handling it, and what exactly it's spent on, and a little bit more details. They just sort of unrolled it. So I think I had like 4 or 5 months notice, and then every municipality obviously wanted to introduce it because they got to keep 50% of it.
Right. Yeah. Interesting. I mean, it's, the government can do crazy things. It's a little bit like this blue box collection story going on right now.
Yeah, so the thing that hotels, so we've always been with the Hotel Association of Canada, so they're really our advocate in Ottawa for federal. So one of the things that we try to push in every municipality is a level playing field. So all we're asking is that we get taxed the same as what Airbnbs get taxed, and everybody pays the same amount of tax. So that's one of the main things that we advocate for. And so that, as hoteliers, we just need to get together and we have different organizations and then we put it together in one voice and it does work.
Now, Gary, you've been working for a larger brand now, and sounds like you've done some work with some other management companies managing larger properties. Do you have any insight, vision, thoughts on what it might be like to run not an Airbnb, but a smaller property? Maybe you've got
Yeah.
30
So,
rooms.
so that's actually how I started my career is like I went from assistant general manager to general manager of two small properties. One was 30 rooms and one was 50 rooms. And so I learned from the ground up. And that's why I'm very good at all the different tasks. I know all the different procedures. I came up through F&B, but when I came up as general manager, I came through small hotels and I learned all the processes and how to run it.
Interesting. So if you compare, a small hotel to a larger hotel, there's probably things that are easier to do in a larger hotel because of its size, and things that are more challenging to do. So can you compare those two journeys a little bit?
I'll give you my analogy. So it's actually somewhat the opposite. So like a small hotel is more like a jet ski. You can pivot, you can turn quickly, you can make decisions, and you can implement them the same day. Even like a hotel like the Guelph Hotel, which is about 150 rooms here, it's more like a cruise ship. You have to sort of steer the direction. You can't just pivot like a jet ski. So the small hotels have the availability of like they only have a small team. They just have to, okay, this is my team. I'm going to tell them what the new policy is, and it's done. Whereas when you're in a bigger hotel, it's more like a cruise ship. You have the different layers. Okay, we had to get the feedback from everybody, and then we had to implement it. And then how's our implementation process going to work?
I guess we could follow that analogy though and say, in that smaller hotel on the jet ski, you got to hang on tight because it could be a
Yeah.
bumpy ride. And the cruise ship is a lot smoother.
Well, and it's kind of funny is the owner of the hotels I worked for. I was going to work in Lake Louise for a management company, and he's like, "You're not going to like working for this management company. The financials they're so difficult, and all the red tape." And I like the preciseness. I like digging into things. It was different at the small hotel. You didn't have budgets. You didn't have forecasts. You didn't have as much preparation and execution as you do at larger hotels. And it turned out that I really liked that. And it was funny because he's like, "You're not going to like this." And then as soon as I got into it, I'm like, "I really like this."
That's interesting. So if you were, kind of brings me to that somebody who is thinking about the hospitality industry today, somebody who's younger, earlier in their career, and they're thinking, what might I want to do? What might be interesting? If you had the advice for them entering, the hospitality business and thinking this is what they want to do, what would that be?
So the advice would be have patience. Things don't come instantly. So sometimes we'll see younger students that just finished school and they feel that right away they're entitled to be a general manager of a Marriott hotel. And the world just doesn't work like that, right? You need to have patience. You need to have that experience. You need to get that foundation. So it's quite the commitment, but also you can have the most fun. It's one of the most rewarding careers you can have too. I've lived in 4 different provinces, 2 different countries, met with different cultures. Like my time with the Whitecap Dakota First Nation is amazing. And some of my best memories with the chief, right? So you can't buy that kind of thing. So, you get the experiences, but you have the ups and you have the downs and you have the tough times. But yeah, for me, I worked many years to become a general manager. It wasn't like I finished school and then the next day, boom, you're a general manager. And I think the younger generation sort of feels like that they should be right away. And you just have to have the foundation.
Yeah, I guess, if you think about like what does that experience really bring, right? Sure, there's the education, but maybe talk a little bit about the level of experience and the patience that comes with experience and that sort of thing really
Of
plays
course.
into the day to day, right?
Yeah, so I'm always getting better, right? So I would say, myself from 5 years ago, I'm a better person, I'm a better manager, I'm a better leader. As you go through all these different situations, you run into all these different scenarios, and then you replay the scenarios after. And so, did I make the right call? What calls could I have made? And so, the more times you go through different things and different scenarios, the more you learn about it. That's if you're a learning type of person, I guess.
Right. Great. Gary, maybe we haven't, we touched on technology a little bit,
Right.
but we haven't talked about the big technology elephant in the room, which is AI. What do you
Which I
think
personally
is
love.
What do you think is the current impact and potential future impact on, the larger hotel brands like where you're working now with AI coming about?
Yeah, so, the larger impact would be people changing the way they shop. So I don't know what that's going to look like, but with AI, there might not be an Expedia, there might not be a Marriott.com, there may not be the same setup, right? I don't know what that looks like in the future, but you just have to keep an open mind that the way we've done things may not be the way we always do things. And for me, what I really love about AI is efficiency. So I can make reports in 10 minutes that used to take me 4 to 6 hours. And, just like even for my restaurant here, I can make an advertisement for brunch in 5 minutes, which, like, when I designed it myself, when I used to be a restaurant manager, it would take me 5 hours to 8 hours to design like a restaurant flyer. Now I can go on to AI and I type in what I want, give it some examples, and then it just creates it for you.
Yeah. So what does that really mean for you? Like when you're doing that, instead of spending all that time, creating the thing, does that take away work for you? Does that make your life easier? Does that make you more
No,
able to
so I
focus on
think
the better parts of the job?
yes, but it also allows me to continue working on more and more things to get our hotel better, right? So to be more involved. So as an example, right now I'm more working on human resources. I'm working on some onboarding stuff, some employee retention things, some things that I may not have had time to do if I didn't have the reporting and structure of the AI that I've used. So I take on more and more tasks. I still fill my time up. It's just I get to spread out further and reach further and make more impact.
That's great. That's great. Well, Gary, it's been wonderful having you here. Tell us a little bit more about the specific property where you're at. What's the address? What
Okay.
sorts of events are coming up? That kind of thing.
So we're on 50 Stone Road West in Guelph, Ontario. And so it's right across from the University of Guelph. And some of our rooms have the Griffin view. So those are familiar with the University of Guelph Griffin. You can see the Griffin from our hotel. And so we have one of the things that we're really proud of is 2027, we won the bid for the Memorial Cup. And we are more than likely going to be the host hotel for it.
That's great. So what do you think that means for you in terms of preparing for that and capitalizing on it?
Yeah, so it's the whole Guelph community together. So what we did is I actually reached out to the other general managers because we had to put in a bid that was very specific. So it gave me an opportunity to bond with the different people, and we had to figure out, okay, so the refs need to be at this place, the hockey team needs to be separate, the VIPs need to be here. And then so it got the whole community together working on one thing, and it got hotel managers together that maybe sometimes, we're very competitive, but we all joined forces to work on this thing together. And, the economic impact that it brings to the community and the awareness of Guelph, which is celebrating its 200-year anniversary that same year. So it's going to be an awesome year for Guelph.
Sounds like a fun project and a fun couple of years ahead of you for sure, Gary. Yeah. So thank you very much for joining us today. And well, I hope to check back in. You maybe after the Memorial Cup has been and gone and the dust settles, we can have a check in.